Hey Fawn fam, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, hey, what's up? My name is Tanya and thank you all so much for joining in and watching this video. This is not my stereotypical intro, and of course I am not upbeat. This is not a video that I really want to be doing. I'm sure Susan also did not want to be doing the video she had to do, so I also didn't plan on doing this video as my first video coming back and kicking off my month of skincare videos for you guys, essentially. So sorry that everything is not happy and upbeat the way it usually is, and that my intro is obviously not the same as it always is. I also have been really under the weather for a whole week now, and it has taken me like the whole day of like slowly prepping and getting myself ready and just trying to kind of pull myself together to film. I've been trying to film this video for quite a few days now, but I've just been like so sick. I'm detoxing, as you guys know from that update video, trying to get all of those harsh medications out of my system, and it's just part of that process right now. So because I'm getting Ambrel and methotrexate and all those injections and other medications out of my system, I've kind of hit a bump where I'm just sick, so bear with me. I've also spent a couple of days, you know, not full days, so take that with a grain of salt, going through a couple different videos because I did not want to support those videos, but I needed to see what was being said. And doing online research, I wrote a statement because I'm very emotional over this situation. I'm on Susan's side, and when Jen Loves Reviews video came out, that put me over the edge because of the amount of misinformation and a lot of other things that we're going to get into. So I'm shaking. I am very angry, very sad, I just feel Susan's pain on such a level. So I needed to write this statement because I knew that I'm so emotional, both in a sad and angry place, that I would never be able to convey my thoughts. So I'm going to be reading my statement. That way I can get everything to you guys. And there's a good chance I'm going to cry. I've done a lot of crying, both with Susan on watching her and just on my own, witnessing what I've been witnessing happening to her. So like, I'm already tearing up and I haven't even started. And then I want to give a disclaimer right now, because my channel is a PG-13 channel. It's a family channel. And if you are watching this with kids, I suggest you don't, because I'm not going to hold back on the profanity. This is not a PG video. There will be swearing. I'm likely going to get emotional. I bawled my eyes out, blowing my nose, crying hard, watching Susan's apology video the first time, and then I cried 2 more times the other times that I had to watch for the purposes of writing the statement. I have never cried watching an apology video before because they've always seemed fake. They're works of fiction full of fake crying. If you know Susan, you know the pain that she's in, and that she just couldn't hold back those tears from the abuse, the bullying, the harassment, the hatred, the threats of violence, and the flat-out dehumanizing that has been directed her way. I don't understand how any human being can treat another human being that way, or like this, except maybe in the most extenuating of circumstances, but let alone someone who is so decent, kind, loving, genuine, and has a heart of gold. It takes such a real scumbag and a piece of shit human to react in such a way. So, that being said, after this, that was my disclaimer. This is now my statement. I want to take a moment to address this Susan Yara bullshit. I honestly wasn't going to do this and intended to stay quiet for it quiet about it for several reasons, aside from the positive comments that I have left for her, like on her social medias. For one, I didn't want anyone to think I was trying to capitalize on some drama going on by name dropping a big YouTuber. I hope you guys, I know my Fawn family, know me well enough by now to know I wouldn't capitalize on anyone's pain and misfortune, whether I'm a big fan of their work or not. I have demonetized this video. As you may have already noticed, there are no ads running. Unfortunately, since all of this was revealed, the YouTube landscape has done what it does best and erupted with hatred, blame, accusations, threats of violence towards her, and calls to cancel. Even some of Susan's supposed sea of adoring fans are turning on her. As if this, in my opinion, one mistake rendered her entire career moot. My final straw was when Jen Love's reviews video came out with her video, primarily due to the misinformation and deliberate, ultimate clickbait title, but also because of the size of her sphere of influence. Now I feel compelled to share my thoughts about the situation, about Susan, and about the YouTube way of cannibalizing each other. And please excuse any misspeaking or mumbling or whatever that I'm like kind of fumbling. Like I said, I'm shaking, I'm angry, I'm emotional, and I have also had to take medication for a really severe migraine today. So in the spirit of full disclosure, it is my intent to review this from an objective standpoint, but I also recognize that because I love Susan and respect her advice so much, I am unavoidably innately biased. Consider that a disclaimer, but I think if you stick around and listen through to the end, you'll see that despite my admiration for her as a person, professional, and an influencer, you will see that my take is actually pretty objective. So let's get into this. For those of you who don't know, the buzz around Susan right now is about her alleged violation of FTC guidelines when she didn't disclose her connection with the brand Natrium prior to talking about using and reviewing the brand in 2 videos on her channel, once on April 28th and once on April 29th. Jen said she couldn't find any more videos on Susan's channel before the announcement video where she talked about Natrium, leaving open the possibility that Susan may have deleted other videos.
So after that, I couldn't find any more mentions of Natrium on either Susan's channel, Mixed Makeup, or Susan Yara.
I watch every single video of Susan's as quickly as I can when they go up. I am on notification list. She is like my skincare guru. There are a few others like James Welsh and Hiram. I watch Dr. Dre, Cassandra Bankson, and there are a few others that I still have been meaning to get to know, but Susan is like my go-to. So I have watched every video. So let me just tell you that. I have not seen her talk about it in any other video, so it is just those 2. I just wanted to make that very clear. Susan said in her apology video on June 25th that she stopped talking about it because she realized that she was actually going to be signing on as a co-founder and stop promoting the brand.
But if you look back, I stopped talking about it when I realized that this is going to happen. We're going to finally get our agreement together, and it's going to become, I am the co-founder. I stopped talking about the brand.
Other than videos, Susan also shared a 25% off discount code, which was not an affiliate code, that she said she got from the brand with her private Facebook group. In her post, Susan wrote, "I just want you guys to use better products." Later in her apology video she uploaded on the 25th of June, she stated it was just for people to try the products at a discount.
As far as the discount code goes for the Facebook group, that was not an affiliate code. That was really just for all of you to try the products at a discount.
She has since said all of the revenue, not proceeds, as she says there were none, she donated to 3 different organizations. That means they lost money. I would just like to point out that this was in addition to the 3% of proceeds she had already committed to donating to the One Tree Planted organization that she's been talking about before any of this happened.
As far as the revenue that was made off of the discount code that was given, it's not profit, but there was revenue. And that money will be donated to 3 different organizations that I have chosen and that my team also loves. I'm going to leave all of that information in the description box below so you can find out more about these organizations. And in addition to that, Natrium as a company has also committed to donating 3% of profits to One Tree Planted because we're all about sustainability. We're trying to find better ways to be sustainable in the beauty industry. And that was something we committed to long before this and something we will continue to be committed to.
I really don't want to get into the law side of this discussion in this video though. That isn't the point of this video. Now, before we get started on my take of this, let's just take a quick moment away from this topic entirely for just a second. For the sake of this brief sidebar, let's assume for a second that what Susan did was a violation per the FTC guidelines and was then by definition illegal. Again, if that is true, let's all have an honest moment with ourselves and think about something for a second. I think if we are all honest with ourselves, we can all agree that just because something is illegal does not necessarily make it morally reprehensible, and vice versa too. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? By way of example of the former, let's start with an easy one. What about speeding? No, I don't mean doing 100 in a 25 and endangering the lives of children in a neighborhood. But I would bet the farm on the fact everyone watching who has ever driven a car has done so over the speed limit at one point or another. Was it morally reprehensible? Is 30 in a 25 egregious, unforgivable, character branding, reputation tanking behavior? How about crossing a street other than in the designated crosswalk? How about failure to use a turn signal? What about smoking marijuana before it was legalized? Or crossing state lines with CBD in the not-so-distant past? For all of my service people out there, do you always declare your cash tips? What about my eBay and Let Go people? Have you always reported the money you made from selling your things online as income on your taxes? Did everyone out there wait until they were of legal age to take their first sip of alcohol? Or second, third, fourth, or fifth for that matter? I know I didn't. And same with speeding. You get the point. And while I'm very familiar with the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, I think that anyone that refuses to look at the reason she says she did what she did is being willfully blind. If my husband had an accident with, let's just say, a power tool, and we had to race into the hospital, you bet your ass I would be speeding. Period. In fact, we had an emergency with one of our dogs when I was still living in Canada, and I was doing, this is in kilometers, but I was doing 140 kilometers an hour in a 60 kilometer an hour zone because the dog was going to die. It was like a highway type of scenario, so it wasn't like in a neighborhood, but right there, I did it. So, and I know he would do the same for me if I injured myself. And you better believe if Luby, my dog that has all of these illnesses that is always in the ER, if he was seizing or something, I would be doing 100 miles an hour to get his butt to the vet. But to onlookers, I'd just be an asshole driver because they don't have the whole story. But here, in this situation, we don't have to be left to our imaginations. Susan told us why she did what she did. Sure, we have to decide for ourselves if the reason she gave us is true or not, But if I may, let's remember here, we're not exactly talking about Jaclyn Hill, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, Laura Lee, and so many others. She has a flawless track record with over 1.26 million subscribers. This is her first mistake as a professional YouTuber. Her advice has proven priceless, and I'm reaping massive dividends day in and day out because of it. And that brings me to where Jen completely lost me. In all honesty, she lost me through much of it. Actually, maybe it's best I start there. Susan and her launch aside, Jen was very wrong on some crucial skincare advice. I'll be covering this information in significant depth in future videos, but I'll briefly touch on them here. And to me, this sets the stage for the rest of the misleading tone of Jen's video. Jen ridicules the idea that Susan promotes the fact that Natrium encapsulates some of the ingredients in some of their products, specifically some of their vitamin C and retinol, and that it means nothing to the end user other than sounding fancy.
Encapsulated in this sounds super magical, but to me it sounds like other ingredients are just working with advertised ingredients to make it work differently. It's not something that's unique. Essentially, any skincare product could claim to encapsulate their ingredients, but it does sound really fancy.
Encapsulation is a newer type of technology that's more gentle for sensitive and reactive skin, or if you're just new to actives. And while yes, it may be fancy, it's certainly not without payoff. If you have one of these skin types or you're new to actives, this literally is a godsend. It allows the user to be able to use an increased percentage of both vitamin C and retinol, or to use vitamin C and retinol, period, without experiencing any of the negative side effects that accompany high percentages of these ingredients. Once their skin is used to the encapsulated forms, most people are then able to transition smoothly into the pure forms of these ingredients without irritation or a reaction due to the tolerance they were able to build up because of this fancy process, allowing them to reap even more benefits. Jen either doesn't know skincare, didn't do her proper research, or is transitioning into another drama channel cloaked in the occasional review video, out to just create berating content that brings in views, something I have both suspected and hated for quite some time. Nasty, if you ask me. You may have noticed that some of her reviews even include drama and tea. While this will be covered in much greater detail in hopefully soon to be published videos on my channel, here are some skincare facts that, in my scrupulously researched opinion, contradict an array of claims Jen made in her video. Encapsulated skincare comes in all shapes and forms. When we talk about encapsulated skincare, we mean instead of a bottle of serum, your product comes in a bottle with little capsules containing the actual liquid. But in some cases, the active ingredient is encapsulated in tiny, barely visible to the naked eye, like capsules, which automatically burst once they're applied to the skin. So what is the point of doing this from the perspective of improving a product's efficacy? How does this double packaging help? Why is this becoming a rage? And does it have any skincare benefits? Well, encapsulated beauty just refers to the practice of coating ingredients with a protective layer, and often known as ampules. Some of the time, these are large, actual plastic coverings. Other times, it is enveloped in a microscopic capsule of moisturizers and other barrier-like ingredients to either soften the harshness of a product or maintain its potency. Recent studies suggest that encapsulated molecules may be able to improve vitamin C penetration to the lower levels of the skin even more. Rather than just sitting on the top layers, you might actually be able to start penetrating further into the dermis. Using encapsulated version of these ingredients ensures we get the best of their properties for our skin. This also prolongs the shelf life of these products significantly, thus becoming the biggest plus point of encapsulation and automatically increasing the effectiveness of these products. The reason encapsulated products are beneficial depends on the type of encapsulation. Encapsulated retinol, for example, causes slow, controlled release over time into your skin, instead of each part of the retinol just assaulting your skin all at once. Now, I happen to love like the full assault of retinol. I have prescription retinol. We're going to go into all that. But a lot of people can't handle it. They give up on retinol after a week or 2 weeks because they don't want to deal with the flakiness, the irritation, the purging, and everything else that goes with it. And it is one of the best ingredients that you can have for anti-aging, collagen stimulation. It's one of the best ingredients. I'm going to do a video on it, but the fact that Natrium has encapsulated retinol is incredible. So then Jen picks on Susan for saying, you need niacinamide. Well, guess what, you guys? You do. It's a fantastic ingredient. I don't go a day without it. If you want to have the following benefits, of course, that's when you need it. It reduces inflammation, it brightens your skin, it helps with hyperpigmentation, sunspots, melasma, just evening out your skin tone altogether, and it even calms redness. Like, I just don't know who wouldn't want niacinamide. And I've been using it for, oh my gosh, over a year. I've been obsessed with niacinamide. Actually, I have like products ready to go. Like, this is almost gone. But I'm obsessed with Naturium's niacinamide. I have completely made the switch. Ever since that launch, it's my favorite niacinamide. She later mocks Susan's claim that her products have the correct pH levels for the skin.
Regarding pH, that's the job of the chemists, is to pH balance products. And if they aren't disclosing that information, that doesn't mean that the products aren't pH balanced. If they aren't pH balanced, that's just a shitty chemist. So even though this might be interesting information to add to a website, it's not necessary. And in my opinion, it doesn't add any credibility to the brand. In hindsight, though, don't we love the little nod to how well thought out the products are? Mm-hmm.
This is actually an issue with a lot of skincare formulas in that they do not have the correct pH levels. Yes, Jen says that everything should have the pH levels, and if a product does not, it's just a sign of a shitty chemist. Okay, by saying that her products have the correct pH levels, she is stating to the world that she does not have a shitty chemist. Is Jen suggesting here that Susan should just leave the consumer to wonder about the capability and intelligence of the minds behind the formulation rather than disclosing it? I can't see what purpose that would serve, so shame on you, Jen. And just for like another little thing that makes a product not a shitty product, but that's not pH balanced, is this toner by Biologique Recherche. It's the Lotion P50 1970. It's an exfoliating toner, but it does not leave you feeling like you have the correct pH levels in your skin. You then have to go in with something like this, a CoQ10 toner afterwards. This one is by DHC. Indie Lee also makes one that's a spray, so it just depends if you want to use a cotton round or go in with the spray. I go back and forth depending when Indie Lee's out of stock, and then this one. But this is just an example of a product that really causes your skin to get red and like just not irritated, but it brings it out of the correct pH levels, and then you need a CoQ10 toner to bring it back into the normal pH levels. And this is one of, not my favorite toners, but it's a toner that I love. It used to be one of my favorites. It's just that now there are so many options. So just, and another thing that she made a comment on, but Natrium, Dumbo got into something. You might hear some snacking. And sorry, allergies. Natrium is better than the ordinary from an ingredient deck, and the way the products feel and their texture. I have compared the feels and the textures of Naturium's products to both the ordinary and the Inky list, and Naturium is more affordable than like high-end brands, and it's just a little bit more expensive than the ordinary and the Inky list. Their products are $25 and under, but the average products being $16 and $20. I mean, you get really great size products. I took mine out of here because I was using it today. But I'm doing a full review on Naturium. There was just one vitamin C serum that was sold out that I wasn't able to get, the 22%. So as soon as that's in stock, I'll also be reviewing that baby. Anyway, back to that primary statement Jen said that I just can't make peace with no matter how I look at it. The number one reason we are on very different pages regarding Susan is because at the end of Jen's video, she says, "But will I trust product recommendations from Susan Yara in the near future? Absolutely not."
Will I trust product recommendations from Susan Yara in the near future? Absolutely not.
That means after years of delivering top-notch advice and delivering a fabulous reputation, Jen's words,
she had a fabulous reputation.
She made one mistake and it's all out the window. Furthermore, the reason Susan gave as to why she did it was to get an honest, unbiased feedback from people trying it. She didn't want her stellar reputation affecting reviews. She wanted the brand to speak for the brand, not its association with her. Jen even admits this was necessary when she said, "I would have bought the stuff if I'd known that it was hers. I know many other people would have."
I would have bought the stuff if I had known that it was hers. I know many other people would have.
That's her point, Jen. I don't know. Maybe it's too hard for the beauty community's onlookers to believe that someone is that good. And that's why people have to write it off as a Jacqueline-level deception. To a degree, I get that. I do. This beauty influencer world has proven to be quite the toxic cesspool of corruption and lies. A dumpster fire of subterfuge. That we get, no problem. In fact, it's expected. And that right there is the problem. I think it's so expected now that it was just assumed here. Just another piece of shit influencer using her online clout for another cash grab. I'll touch on my personal experiences with numerous influencers later. In fact, if you ask me, Jen herself insinuated exactly that when she said, "Susan knows the stigma associated with influencer-based brands and decided to promote it herself and to recruit the biggest skincare influencers to promote it as well so that she gets the benefit of rave YouTube reviews without the audience judging the influencers as biased and the products as a cash grab."
So this is my conspiracy theory, allegedly. Susan knew the stigma related to influencer brands, so instead of saying it's her brand, she decided to be the influencer promoting it and to recruit the biggest names in YouTube skincare to unknowingly promote it as well. That way, she gets the benefit from rave YouTube reviews without audience judging the influencers as biased and her products as a cash grab.
Jen did precede the statement with a disclaimer by saying, "So, this is my conspiracy theory, allegedly." But why? I mean, without a crystal ball, Jen has no clue. This is total speculation. But by Jen saying Susan did what she did to avoid the appearance of a cash grab implies it was a cash grab, and Susan needed to divert attention away from that reality. To me, the way Jen said this is so misleading, and being misleading is the very thing Jen is calling Susan out for. So, now we have to put Jen in the spotlight, right? Isn't that how this works? The cancel culture, the finger pointing, soap boxing, and drama stoking? So, what's Jen's reason for doing this? Should we do what she did and be quick to label Jen as part of the toxic online cancel culture with limited facts? Or are we going to do what Jen should have done here and given her the benefit of the doubt based on what I presume she considers herself to have an established and well-earned reputation? After all, is it possible Jen made this video and spread this theory to deliver information that she thought was imperative for her audience to know? Did she altruistically do it for them and not do it for some self-serving, malicious desire to tank Susan's career? Which one are we doing here? Are we going to be a part of the problem or a part of the solution? I guess we should keep going with her video before we make a decision, right? The opinion Jen renders towards the end of her video, that Susan has completely sabotaged this launch through her dishonesty.
And she's completely sabotaged this launch through her dishonesty.
Is nothing more than that, an opinion. I have a different opinion. I think Susan was telling the truth about why she did it, and I think it speaks volumes about her character. I think she just went about it in an ill-advised way, but no one really knows exactly what was going on behind the scenes with the brand between her and Ben Bennett, now co-founder of Natrium, prior to the formal signing of the agreement that made them co-founders just a few weeks ago in June.
Up until a couple of weeks ago, I hadn't become the formal partner and the formal co-founder of Natrium. I signed my agreement, my formal agreement, just a couple weeks ago.
Anyone that is judging her as if they know unequivocally is doing so solely based on circumstantial evidence or the incomplete picture painted by Susan's own statements. I mean, that's just fact. Using those exact same facts available to Jen, it is equally plausible that Susan did not want to be putting more mediocre skincare products on the market whose sales are driven by fancy marketing and a big name rather than on results they deliver, because this is a serious skincare brand. Can you blame her for not wanting to be another Kylie Cosmetics or KKW? I mean, I certainly can't. That being said, yes, I said if because I don't know, that was the case, I still agree that the way she went about it wasn't the best way to do it, something she has admitted, owned, and now regrets. If you can't see a difference between her apology video and Jaclyn Hill's, Laura Lee's, or Shane Dawson's dodging, then I don't know what to tell you. I just don't understand how, when taking her reputation and combining it with her reasoning for launching this way, anyone can land on not giving her the benefit of the doubt. Even Jen had to frame her accusation regarding Susan's involvement with the brand as a question because she flat out doesn't know. She said, albeit condescendingly, did she really not have any kind of agreement before that? I highly doubt it.
Did she really not have any kind of agreement before that? I highly doubt it.
But after doing some light digging, even this is misleading. I went to Ben Bennett's company's website, The Center, and there is nothing there but a landing page. However, in an article on WWD dated January 14th, 2020, it reads, "The Center is a new type of beauty incubator under which he will both develop brands and invest in up-and-comers in the beauty and wellness categories." More specifically, the article goes on to say, the Center's business model is split into two functions: brand incubation and brand acceleration under the Center Holdings, the company's investment arm. Thus far, the Center Holdings has invested in 4 brands: clean makeup brand Kosas, which I think we're all familiar with, clean fragrance line Ellis Brooklyn, I'm sure we're also all familiar with that one, sustainable skincare brand Circumference, and Five Suns Foods, which sells an Andean plant-based protein called chocho. I don't know. Notice Natrium isn't listed. So, did Susan speak with an investment firm
But why would someone work with an investment company?
or someone developing a brand? Well, let's look at that article again. It later says the goal is to not only incubate our own brands, but to take this team's expertise and this platform we are building to provide both growth capital and shared services to a variety of early stage emerging brands in both beauty and wellness. Okay, he said incubate our own brands. So did this start as his brand? Did he approach Susan to do this? Let's read on. While it's not expressly stated, it appears to hint at Natrium being one of these brands later in the article. It reads, a key differentiator from his business model at Hatch Beauty, said Bennett, is that the center will not focus on creating in-house brands for big box retailers such as Walmart's Found, meaning the in-house brands will be for not big box retailers. That could definitely be Natrium. Let's continue. With the brands the center is incubating, the first is to launch in the next month. Remember, we said this was in January, though he is tight-lipped on details. As you may recall, Natrium's official launch was in February. So, is Natrium the in-house brand the article is referring to? Did he approach Susan to do this? If so, what were the terms of the deal? Was it a one lump sum for her expertise, meaning the success of the brand was irrelevant to her and she had no incentive behind its success? Who knows? At this point, it still seems like an unknown, at least per this article. It also fits Jen's accusation of she not only had a relationship with the brand, but she helped with the entire process along the way.
It's clear from her launch video that she not only had a relationship with the brand, but helped with the entire process along the way.
All I'm saying is we don't have all the facts. There's also an interview that Susan did with Beauty Independent. The article dated June 30th, 2020, read in part, in the interview with Beauty Independent, Yara traced her interest in doing a brand with Bennett back to the Bliss event, and she reported she turned away suitors contacting her weekly to partner on a brand in favor of Bennett. Ben is a lovely person. He just has this charisma that makes me want to be best friends with him, said Yara, adding, I always realized I had entrepreneurship in me, and Ben is the ultimate in entrepreneurship. Everything he puts his mind to, he does it, and that is so attractive about him. And the minute I met him, I thought, I want to do something with him if I can. Once Bennett left Hatch Beauty to found the center last year, he said he was ready to join forces with Yara on a brand. To me, this implies brands were approaching Susan. She turned them away because she hoped that Ben would approach her. Ben left Hatch Beauty and then did approach her. This falls in line with this being an in-house brand of the center and therefore Ben Bennett. So, what does that mean from an FTC violation standpoint? Without the terms of their agreement, we just don't know. Despite not knowing, Jen continued. However, without this imperative information, she had to work with circumstantial crumbs and therefore put a lot of emphasis on little things Susan said in her 2 April videos. For instance, Jen points out that Susan states she was surprised.
And because it has all those ingredients in it, I'm actually surprised that it's only $20, to be completely honest. The formulation is amazing, the ingredients are amazing, the packaging is even really nice, and it feels really nice on your skin.
At the price point and packaging, as if her surprise was evidence of foul play. And no, this is not a plug, but I can tell you right now, with the development of my own brand, I have been very surprised at pricing of components and formulation, sometimes pleasantly and other times not so much. Can someone misinterpret that the way Jen did? Sure. But looking objectively at it, of course that statement could have been 100% true and could just as easily describe my surprise with my brand. She never stated that she was just now rendered surprised. Furthermore, if this was Ben's brand at the time, that surprise could have actually been far more contemporaneous to the video. Again, we don't know. Jen also mentions how Susan said it was a newer brand that she's been using.
It's a newer brand that I've been using.
Yeah, it's a newer brand and she's been using it. These aren't revelations or spectacular displays of inculpatory behavior or incriminating evidence. And if it was Ben's brand at the time, yep, it was a new brand, not her new brand, which would also make sense because she said she received it in PR. Did she have a material connection per the FTC? Possibly. But look how much more information I presented than Jen did. And I know I don't have it all. In fact, this whole thing wasn't just new for Susan, it was new for Ben. The Beauty Independent article explained, at Hatch Beauty, Bennett was purely behind the scenes. In an unusual move, he stepped into the spotlight at Natrium in a co-founder's photo with Yara, on its site, and with an appearance via a picture in her announcement video. The point is, he's not done this before. So what is this? Being a co-founder? Is that because he was whole owner of the brand? That would go hand in hand with the last-minute co-owner decision Susan spoke of. If we look at the statement she made in the description of her June 25th apology video, she said, "My business partner Ben has also become a personal friend. When he asked me to join him on Natrium, I was honored, as I had already advised him and I felt a personal connection to the brand. Behind the scenes, we had discussed a variety of business collaborations and strategies. Candidly, I wasn't certain if any of them would come to fruition." Oh, wow! Look at that, folks. No contradictions. Not even with her WWD interview from way back in January of this year. Looks pretty good to me so far. She continued by saying, "In April, when I first mentioned Natrium on my mixed makeup and personal platforms, and through May, we did not have an agreement in place. For many reasons, this was delayed. At this point, I believe there was a real chance that our deal would fall through." She later said, "I did not make a disclosure because I was uncertain of what to disclose. At this time, we were in such an in-between place on my role. Simply, nothing had been finalized with Natrium." While that may not be good enough reason for the FTC, it certainly shines a light on why someone unfamiliar with the full spectrum of the text of the FTC's applicable governing statute and without a legal background may have thought it wasn't necessary. Regardless, she owns it, as she should have. She said, "It was my mistake to talk about Natrium without disclosing my relationship with the brand." So, still think we're dealing with a Jacqueline? Anyway, like I said, while we don't know what this means from an FTC standpoint without all of the details, we can see that her story is adding up nicely. Or is it? Well, I know what some people are going to say. what about that part in her announcement video where she said she was planning to publicize her relationship with Natrium shortly after its launch in February, but she held off due to the pandemic, wanting to validate that the brand could stand on its own apart from her, and the fact she wanted to solicit unbiased opinions on its products. Let's look at exactly what she said. It was really important to me to get honest and true feedback from everyone. And I took a step back and I was like, I don't think I'm going to get that if I just announce that this is my skincare line from the get-go.
And it was really important to me to get honest and true feedback from everyone. And I took a step back and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna get that if I just announce that this is my skincare line from the get-go.
So, this is the big boom, right? She said it was my skincare line. So, this is a timestamp of ownership. So we now know she was a co-owner as of February. Jen must have been right about her formality claims all along, right? Well, I've referred to things being mine when I was involved with its creation and in the process became rather attached. That doesn't make it mine where a legal definition of ownership is concerned. Furthermore, that would imply she's lying about the just a couple weeks ago thing that we mentioned earlier when she signed her formal agreement, like back in June, and that she was the owner, not a co-owner, all along. She said my, not ours. So if that's the case, Ben not only did not invest in her business, but also had no ownership in it. This would mean that when Ben disclosed the upcoming launch in February of the first of his in-house brands that the center incubated, he was lying. In-house brands denotes ownership. That would have to make him at least part owner. If he was part owner, that makes her statement in the reveal video inaccurate, as she said, my brand. So is Ben lying? I don't think so. We don't know, and that's what's on the line. Speculation is irresponsible when delivered as if it's fact. To me, it's clear she's just excited and misspoke. No one is denying she played a role in the development of the brand. She clearly developed a bond with the brand as it came to be through her vision and hard work. It's kind of like her baby. Again, I'm not denying that. But this does not mean that she's lying about why she didn't reveal her role or that she contradicted herself about her timeline. So, what did Jen really have when she set out to make this video? I mean, other than a catchy, clickbaity title, of course. She had an opinion. An unfair, guilty by association opinion, if you ask me. By association with the makeup beauty community, which, by the way, is very different from the skincare beauty community. Those big influencers are good people, the skincare beauty influencers. Yes, there are good people in the makeup beauty community as well, but to me, the big ones are few and far between. Wayne Goss is an absolute, genuine, good-hearted, beautiful soul. And Candy Johnson, yes, she does makeup, but even Candy is more of a lifestyle beauty influencer type of person. She's not even like makeup. And she is such a genuine, good-hearted, amazing, beautiful soul. I love her dearly. I mean, sure, there are some others, but there are some people that you think are these amazing influencers that I can't disclose information on because I've been told things in confidence, and I will never disclose things to you guys, but you just don't know. And I will touch on a few things at the end of this video, but I will not name drop. But it's very interesting to see the difference between the communities, the skincare and the makeup beauty communities. The skincare people are such good people as an all around statement, generalization versus the makeup world. It's also interesting to note that 4 videos later, when Jen reviewed Charlotte Tilbury's new Light Magic Cream, Jen added a disclaimer at the beginning of that video. I just want to let you know, I am not a cosmetic chemist. I am not a dermatologist. I am not a skincare professional. All of the information presented in this research was found on professional websites. She also says, every once in a while, I do not say things exactly the way that I mean them.
I want to let you know, I am not a cosmetic chemist, I am not a dermatologist, I am not a skincare professional. All the information presented in this research was found on professional websites. I also want to mention before I get started that every once in a while, I do not say things exactly the way that I mean them, or I learn new information that I want to share with you. So if there's anything in this video that falls into that category, it will be placed in a pinned post at the top of the comment section.
So, do we add bias to her opinion too? Why didn't her Susan video have this disclaimer? It needed it because, in my opinion, it was riddled with false and misleading statements regarding skincare, as well as the topic of Naturium's launch. So, if lack of knowledge is not the deciding factor for the presence of a disclaimer, what is? Does she have a relationship with Charlotte Tilbury and doesn't want to jeopardize it by making false and misleading statements? Is her lack of a professional relationship with Susan the reason she didn't add the disclaimer and felt so comfortable just firing incendiary statements from the hip? I don't know. But if we're going to look at all the evidence, that has to be added in there too. Also, what's going on behind the scenes between Susan and Jen personally? Maybe nothing, maybe something. But if we're going to talk about red flags, this is also one. However, unlike with Susan, if you even count this as a red flag for Susan at all, Susan only has one, and Jen has more than one in this video alone. Short tangent here in editing. You may have noticed that earlier in this video, I inserted a clip from Jen's video of Susan in her announcement video that had a pop-up at the bottom. I blurred that out because I wanted to explain it. Here it is. The pop-up starts out, Yara created Naturium with the Center, an investment firm and incubator led by Ben Bennett, previously Chief Creative Officer and co-founder at Hatch Beauty. This does not contradict Susan's story. She created Naturium with the Center. Yes, we have already said she was involved with the brand before launch. The capacity to which she was involved is the unknown, not the involvement itself. No one is denying that. As they were both working on this brand together, the statement, Yara created Naturium with the Center, reflects exactly that. Sure, you can read into it and take off into left field, as it would appear Jen wants you to do that here. But if you just read the words, it's consistent with everything else Susan has said. Anyway, it continues, quoting Bennett saying, "This is Susan's brand. I'm an investor, and the Center acts as advisors to her, and we are also partners in it." Okay, this is the part where context really matters. This is a boom statement if you have no clue of its context. We know Ben said back in January that the Center was invested in 4 brands, and Naturium wasn't one of the 4 he listed. This was the same article that Ben hinted at his first in-house brand launching next month, February 2020, the month Naturium launched. If true, this would mean that this new statement pasted in Jen's video, quoting Ben saying he is invested in Naturium, contradicts his February statement, pulling the veil on this web of deceit, right? Ta-da! Wrong. In fact, there's a perfectly good explanation for this. The article Jen is quoting from is from June 21st, 2020, the date of publication of Susan's announcement video, 159 days later. Did Jen seriously not reveal something this material? The date of the article? Well, not so fast. It's not that simple. The first use of the article is arguably at 10:25, when she inserts a picture of Ben and Susan found in the article. However, it is also found on her website. So, if we don't count that one, we can move on to the next use of the article found at 10:33. Here she pastes the same quote, this time across the middle of the screen, but without reference to an article or date at all. It then transitions from the quote at 10:42 to a screenshot at the top of an article with title, author, and date included. It's up to you to link the prior quote to this article. It's not clear at all. While the date is there, there's no attention drawn to it at all. Not by mouse, by what she's saying, highlighting, a red circle, nothing. In fact, I'd say attention is being drawn away from the date because when it transitions, she's already reading the text from the first paragraph of the article, adding pop-ins, underlying different text as she goes. The underlying draws your attention away from the top where the date is to the bottom where the pop-ins are appearing. I didn't notice the date the first 2 times I watched the video. From here, it's another 51 seconds before you see the first pop-up for the second time. The pop-up in question appears at the bottom of the screen. It's left to the viewer to recall this quote is a repeat and to tie it to the article at 10:42. At no point whatsoever is the name of the publication referenced. When I wanted to go find the article, I went to her description. Nope, nothing there. I ended up having to run a Google search using nothing but the text of the screenshot because publication was never referenced. I also couldn't use the title of the article displayed at 10:42 because I wasn't sure everything was from the same article. So confusing, so frustrating. But it does not stop there. While it could just be piss poor journalism, it also reeks of subterfuge. Anyway, so what does this really mean? At best, this quote changes nothing because it reveals nothing about the details of their agreement prior to Susan's announcement. Again, this paragraph is reflective of the agreement Susan and Ben had in place as of the date of June 21st, 2020, not prior. Essentially, this is a useless quote masquerading as evidence of foul play. I don't mean regarding her alleged FTC violation. I'm referring to the fact Susan and Ben's story has stayed consistent. Neither one of them has contradicted themselves. This quote brings nothing to the table, and while at best it changes nothing, at worst it's misleading and irresponsible when used out of context. Another red flag for Jen. And just so you guys know, I unsubscribed from Jen the moment the video on Susan went up. And I know I don't want to be a part of the cancel culture problem, but I cannot respect Jen for what she did to Susan. I just can't. And I am really irritated because I was never signed up for notifications for Jen's videos. And ever since I unsubscribed from Jen, I keep getting notifications from YouTube about Jen's videos. And I need to go into YouTube and figure out a way to be like, I do not want content from this person. So I know that I'm saying let's not be a part of the problem, but with Jen, I can't. She took it to such a level with Susan, and I think that it was so manipulative, and she did it for such clickbait purposes and just wanted the views. She didn't give her disclaimer, and I just can't support a channel like that. So I don't want you guys to think that, like, after what she did to Susan, I'm still supporting and watching and engaging and this kind of thing, because I'm not. But that video went up and I'm like, I'm interested to see if she's going to bash Charlotte Tilbury. And I didn't watch any of the videos in between, but for some reason I'm like, I'm just going to watch this one. And I could not believe that she gave a disclaimer for that brand and not for Susan. And like at that point, I'm like, I am like so just not watching, having that subscribed for Jen. Like I lost so much respect. So again, I don't want to be part of like this cancel culture, but I also don't respect her. So when I don't respect somebody, I'm not going to be subscribed to them. I'm not trying to get you guys to cancel anybody. I don't believe that, like, let's cancel Jen. I have a complete disrespect for her, and I don't want to support somebody I have no respect for. It's that simple. Back to my statement. Also, notice how Jen, in her disclaimer on the Charlotte Tilbury video, all of the information presented in this research was found on professional websites, but didn't disclose what those professional websites were down in her description. If we compare her professional websites to that of the input from an expert witness in a trial, an individual needs to be much more than simply knowledgeable in order to be deemed an expert witness. By definition, an expert is someone who, by reason of his or her education, training, skill, or experience, has specialist knowledge of a particular field or discipline beyond that of a layman, such that other people may rely on his or her opinion about issues within his or her area of expertise. In other words, they have to qualify as an expert to be able to give an opinion. Why? Because something material, something important is riding on it, and mistakes could be catastrophic in nature. They could end careers, destroy families, and even end lives. While Susan isn't going on death row here, her career is definitely at stake, especially considering the emerging state of her brand. Not to mention, her YouTube career is all about reputation for veracity, and the loss of that could tank her channel entirely. In my book, there's another red flag for Jen. Which brings me to my next point, arguably the most important one in this entire video / statement. In the wake of all of this, Susan is being treated by many like she isn't even human. Now I'm going to get emotional. Some have even incited violence, declared hatred, publicly shamed, and bullied her. It's a YouTube blood in the water moment, and the comment sharks are salivating at their chance to tear her apart. They see she's vulnerable. Someone that has something they don't have can be sacrificed to the social media gods, and their mediocre lives can be vindicated for just a moment. I mean, do I know that? Of course I don't. There are likely at least a few, if not more people in there that have fantastic lives riddled with success that are too jumping on the bandwagon to tar and feather Susan. My point is to highlight the type of person my brain goes to when trying to picture who could turn on another human being like this, to so ferociously attack someone's mother, daughter, wife, and friend over one mistake she made in a completely new and unpredictable area of her life. I can't imagine the place someone like that has to be in to do that. And a complete and total pathetic loser that hates him or herself is all I can come up with. If anyone had taken a moment to look at the facts, not only is none of this called for, it too is illegal behavior in many cases. Pot kettle much? And in the cases it isn't illegal, it's reprehensible. Remember that whole everything that's legal isn't necessarily the right thing to do that I said earlier? Even if what she did was technically illegal, a decision not up to us, by the way. This was a mistake made by a woman with a spectacular reputation. One built on hard work, honesty, and a love for her audience and skincare itself. A woman overwhelmed by excitement about a well-deserved opportunity to spread more of that love of skincare with the people she loves. And in that excitement, she jumped the gun, and she did so with discounts that lost her company money. Putting aside her potential legal error, it's my opinion is that her real failure was in the belief in the good in her fellow human beings. That belief that if she just always tried to do the right thing, people would see it. They would see her desire to be a good person, to abide by the golden rule, to have everyone's best interests at heart, and professionally, to bring them the absolute best products at the best prices she possibly could. And if done so without hurting anyone, they would see her for what she is, an honorable, hardworking mother of two that busts her butt doing what she loves for the people she loves. So yeah, Susan definitely made a huge mistake, having faith in humanity, to which, sadly, the potential FTC violation pales in comparison. So this brings us full circle to the question many of you are asking. What the heck was Susan thinking? I would say that it's likely exactly what she said she was thinking. All things considered, it's the most likely story. Occam's razor and all, you know? The simplest solution is most likely the right one. But just for the sake of conversation, if I ignore that as a possibility entirely and have to say, to be honest, I can't begin to imagine what Susan was thinking because I'm not Susan and my background is very different from hers. My dad is a lawyer. I've had over 10 years of intense law-specific education. I started working for my dad's law firm in my mid-teens, and have continued to do legal work of all forms up to that which requires a license to practice law ever since, and I ended up marrying a lawyer. Needless to say, I have a legal mind, I think like a lawyer, I have my Juris Doctorate, I haven't sat for the bar yet. For me, I would have looked into the legality of everything I was doing, to a fault, mind you, probably wasting countless hours. That's just me though. And yes, Susan is married to a lawyer too. As best as I can tell, at least according to FindLaw, he is an entertainment litigation lawyer. However, in my experience, that isn't always accurate. Based on what I know, could that have helped her? Maybe, maybe not. That's not really what's going on here. But even if it could have helped her, we don't know how involved he is with her business. We don't know how much him being a lawyer is rubbing off on Susan. Real law, not movie law, isn't exactly exciting to non-lawyers. Not to mention, FindLaw says he works for Johnson & Johnson, and to my knowledge, some huge corporations like that make their lawyers sign agreements to the effect they can't practice law outside of their affiliation with the company for the duration of their employment. This could be one of those scenarios. Anyway, that's not the point here. The only reason I mentioned my husband is a lawyer is because of the fact that we both have legal minds and frequently get in discussions about the legality of things. We further hone and broaden our legal skill set, not because simply having a lawyer as a partner all of a sudden makes you Johnny frickin' Cochran. It's also possible she wasn't allowed to disclose anything to her husband per her agreement with the center. Again, we don't know. She did say none of this would have been possible without Ben, meaning she clearly values his expertise and opinion. Maybe she was just listening to Ben and honestly believed it was a great way to accomplished getting unbiased feedback and just ran with it? I have no clue. However, it's fair to think surely Ben and Susan have sought legal advice, but if you believe that, you'd be implying that Susan deliberately disregarded their advice, did what she wanted to do anyway, and then went out in public being extremely transparent and forthcoming with a lot of information after the big crime. That would make her the worst criminal in history. At that point, you'd be adding complete moron to the list of pejorative labels. I would like to think we can all agree she's not a moron. So, what's left? Naivete? Hanlon's razor? Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by mistake? There are many variations of it, but the gist is that people make mistakes far more often than they are malicious, conniving, or deceitful. At the end of the day, everyone has to make up their own minds, whether consumers, fans, or just onlookers. However, if banks use reputations to determine whether or not to loan large sums of money to complete strangers by way of the credit rating system, we can certainly use reputations to determine character, reliability, and veracity for regular people. Looking at Susan's social credit score, if you will, she absolutely has my trust. Was what she did a red flag? If you interpreted the facts the way Jen did, I can see how you could think so. It's not to me, but if it is to you, note it, file it, and remember it should you need to refer to it later. But to say she's not trustworthy at all now, to point out a few truthful statements as corroborating evidence of foul play, and to hold speculation as the evidentiary bar for the destruction of someone's career is irresponsible and another classic example of all that is wrong with the cancel culture of today and the ugliness festering in the dumpster fire we call the beauty community. Now, I said that I would mention a few things that I know about the beauty community. All right. As many of you guys know, I have had so many opportunities for being a micro-influencer on YouTube. I honestly don't even know how I've been so blessed and have been so fortunate to have the experiences that I have had. I have been invited and have attended several launch parties, launch parties. I was invited to a company's first ever launch party. I have been to several beauty events, including, BeautyCon, like numerous times, Gen Beauty on top of the launch events, and private launch events as well that weren't like big mainstream ones. I've been flown out to New York and LA. New York during Fashion Week for a really bougie private launch party. I've been wined and dined by the CEOs of 3 major beauty companies. 2 are multi-million-dollar companies, and 1 is a billion-dollar company. All 3 of these beauty companies trusted me with extremely classified information on anywhere from 30 to 40 different YouTubers between all 3 companies. And they have dirt on influencers. Sure, I was told some stories about some people that there are stories that are out now. At the time, they weren't out. I've also been told stories about a lot of YouTubers that are presented as these golden influencers. I don't even want to attach a he or she, and that's not in a specific order either, to the people that I'm talking about. But a lot of you view these people as YouTube sweethearts, and they are not. The amount of storytelling that took place at all of these private dinners that the CEOs took me on, they even took us on like tours in the respective areas of the country that we were in, West Coast, East Coast. Again, because I don't want to give away even what company was what, talking about anything. And it's funny because I don't even have an affiliation with any of these three companies anymore. One, there was just a complete redo of management and everything, and when somebody else took over, when it came to PR and head of that, I fell through the cracks, and a lot of promises were made, and I got burned hard. But I still won't reveal what was said to me because I'm that type of person and my integrity matters more, even though so many promises were made to me, including trips, being flown places, collabs, so many things. And I got burned. I was even asked for my opinions on things that were missing from certain brands, and I filled in the gaps for them, and all of a sudden these products showed up and I got no credit, and they're now just existing in the brand's line. Again, not getting specific on anything, but I'm not going to sell them out, and I'm not going to say what was told to me. And then another one, I don't even know if the company is aware, because the main person that was running PR and doing the invitations to launch parties and all of that got something up her butt because her boyfriend was talking to my husband and myself at one of the parties, and she didn't like it, and I got booted. And then the other one, we just slowly lost communication. There were no hard feelings of any sorts. It's just we lost touch, and that it is what it is. But I still have complete respect for her. So these stories stem from these brands working directly with these influencers and how they were treated by these people, which is unbelievable. It also stems from the company renting out one studio and influencers having another studio, and mix-ups happening between the two studios, and then conversations being overheard and overlaps happening, and one company witnessing a lot of things. It also has to do with launch parties and the influencers that were at the launch parties and what went down there, what happened in hotel rooms or hotels, trying to find people to collab with and digging through dirt and not being able to find a suitable person to collab with, because once the digging started, so much was revealed that isn't out in the public. I'm just telling you, there is so much in the makeup beauty industry that has not been revealed, and I won't be the person to reveal it. I truly hope it all comes to light, because I think that as the audience watching these big influencers, you have a right to know what kind of people you're watching. It's just not my place to say, as I was told all of this in confidence. And regardless of how badly I was burned, I will never betray anything that's ever said to me in confidence, because my integrity matters more to me. It's more to paint a picture of Susan is incredible, Wayne Goss is incredible, Candy Johnson is incredible, and then I can tell people like James Welsh and his brother Robert and Hiram and Cassandra Bankson, these people are good people. You guys need to really look at the people you're watching and not just, and listen and look at their body language and look at their eyes, and not just like this quick little makeup video, and try to look beyond any kind of fakeness that there might be. Because if you look hard enough, you might really be able to open your eyes and see the level of deception that is happening, and then pick out the really good people, because there are good people on both sides. There are just more good people on the skincare side, and it's harder to find the good people when you're in the big realm I'm talking about, you know, like the high hundreds of thousands to millions of subscriber count people. And I just wish I could say more, and I can't. But I hope that this gave you guys a different perspective, something else to think on, and hopefully you won't engage in the hatefulness and be a part of the problem, and that you just won't even click the videos. I'm sorry if you can hear that banging, there are fireworks going off. And like I said, I watched only a handful of videos, and it was solely because I was just blown away at these supposed fans of Susan and what they were doing, and reading comments and then crying. And then when Jen did what she did, I had enough, and I just needed to try to show you guys another point of view, and to hopefully resonate with some people that this just needs to stop. Just stop with the hate. Stop with inciting violence. Stop with the online bullying and harassment. These are human beings. I know that these are their online keyboard warriors that have no face half the time, more than half the time, and you feel like you can just say and do whatever you want, and there's no consequence. You have no idea what you're doing to the person that you're leaving these comments to, and what it can be affecting, how it can be affecting their mental state, their emotional state. It's real. So before you leave those comments, you need to think about it. And how would you feel if you were being attacked? How would you feel if you were receiving the comments that you're leaving? Is it justified to be so angry? Look around us. Look at the real world problems that are happening. Look at the other people that are in the spotlight right now that have done atrocious things. People that have preyed on minors. That's a different story. I mean, this is not something worthy of the comments. So just stop. And trust me, if hate is left on this video, you will be blocked. And it will be deleted. I have a zero tolerance policy for hate. So you can try to leave your comment. It may be up for a little bit because, I do sleep. But I will report you and you will be blocked. Make no mistake. So that does it for this video. I truly hope it resonated. Fireworks are getting out of control, so I'm going to sign off. Holy crap. I love my fawn family so much. And until next time, good night, good morning, wherever you are. I truly love you guys so, so much. And I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.